Ladies and gentlemen, the clone is back. Alright, so I just got done live streaming on the Purple website and somebody redeemed for the clone Inferno to show up. So I took over for the other guy's asleep. So not only did I finish off the stream, but I figured why not do this video as well. So here I am, back with another video, but I know, I'm more outgoing, I'm more, hyper and stuff like that. But we got to respond to potentially a serious video, a serious topic regarding Pokemon Go. So let's not waste any time. Let's get on with it. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. It's the boy Clone Inferno. And today's date is now Friday, September the 12th. Okay, so here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. So what we have in front of me right here is a video that was done by Mystic7. This was actually done 6 days ago. So the other guy, he's been trying to catch up on YouTube videos ever since his trip, so he's been kind of going slow with it. And then he came across this video. He have not watched this entire video yet. He want to react to it. But since I'm here, I'm going to react to it. So I'm about to grab these headphones, and we're not about to waste any time. We're about to jump in it. So this may be a long video, but here we go. We're going to start it off from the beginning. Let's go.
Pokemon Go is changing. I can feel it. You can feel it. The question is it a good change? Which is what I'm going to attempt to answer today. The first part is identifying what this change is and what you've probably been feeling if you've played Pokemon Go over the last couple of years, or if you played years ago and if you've returned recently. It's expensive. It feels like the game is all about paid things right now. Paid Go Pass Deluxes, paid tickets, paid events, paid raids. It's all paid. It feels very expensive, almost suffocatingly expensive. If you're a free-to-play player, it is nearly impossible to play. That's not true. You could obviously play free, but it's very hard to take advantage of all of the cool, exciting things that keep coming to the game without spending kind of an obscene amount of money on it. Now, why is this happening in Pokemon Go? Why does the game feel like this right now? If you didn't see all these announcements, basically a couple months ago, a company called Scopely purchased the games division from Niantic. Niantic are the original developers and owners of Pokemon Go. They have owned and operated and ran the game until this year, 2025.
So let me elaborate on that. So I don't know who came up, like I said, I talked about, well, the other guy talked about this in a video a while back, and I remember it, but I don't know who came up with the idea of Pokemon Go. Unless it was said somewhere, it could be either Niantic did indeed came up with the game, brought the game to the attention of the Pokemon Company, because they can't have Pokemon Go without permission from the Pokemon companies and without Nintendo. Oh guys, don't get me started how Nintendo is when it comes to their property. So you can't really do much without permission from the Pokemon Company, which means you can't do much without the property of Nintendo. I mean, permission from Nintendo. So there's that. But back to the whole who owns the Pokemon Go fiasco, or who came up with the game rather. Either Niantic came up with the game and brought it to the Pokemon Company, or the Pokemon Company came up to the game and went to Niantic and said, yo, we want you to run this game. So there's that. That's number one. Number two, to say that Niantic owned the game, that's not 100% true, because again, there's some things they needed permission from the Pokemon Company, because Pokemon and those characters are owned by the Pokemon Company. So in order for somebody to own Pokemon Go, that means you have to own everything that comes with Pokemon Go, which includes the Pokemon, which is impossible, because the Pokemon Company, Gamefreak, Nintendo, they own Pokemon. So what Niantic did prior to this year was they ran the game, they operated the game, and that's pretty much it. I wouldn't necessarily say they fully own the game. They own some part of the game, but I wouldn't say they fully owned it before they sold it to Scopely. And now Scopely's in the same boat Niantic is in, where Scopely runs the game, or to be more specific, the Pokemon Go team runs the game, but Scopely just owns parts of the game, but they still all report to the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, Nintendo. So there's that.
And this year, starting I think a month or two ago, a new company called Scopely basically came in and bought out the entire gaming side of Niantic, which includes all of Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go, the developers, the teams, everything is now owned by a completely different company.
And I don't know when he shot this video, but I think this happened during the spring. So to him, for him to say a month or two ago, that's not accurate. I think it's but so the news broke, I think in the spring, but I think complete ownership happened like in May or June, I believe.
Right, so used to be owned by Niantic, now owned by Scopely. That's old news. What it didn't do, though, when we talked about the initial announcement, is do some math and some estimates. Math is fun. I'm not good at math, but let's run some numbers. Scopely bought Pokemon Go, the games division, for $4 billion. Scopely is technically a games development studio, but they are owned by a venture capital firm that is owned by the government of Saudi Arabia. They are looking for money to be recouped from $4 billion of an investment. Pokemon Go, to a lot of people, is a game. It's like a lifestyle. It's a passion thing. That's you and me, right? The players. Pokemon Go, to the people who own the game, it's an investment. Which, like, I don't know, the morality aside, like, it's business, right? It makes sense. Like, the reason why we have Pokemon Go is because a company started and wanted to raise money and put a game into the world that did a cool thing, and that's why Pokemon Go is here, right? So you can't be too mad about it, but end of the day, the people who own Pokemon Go look at the game as an investment. Right, so a $4 billion investment. Pokemon Go, on average, over the last 9 years, has made somewhere between $600 million to $1 billion.
Okay, let's stop this real quick. Let's take a look at this graph. So, 2017, that year, it started off bad because, like, later that year, 2016, the game became stale. So, it had that 2017 had a rough start. Like, we can all be honest. But that 2020, 2021, that's remote raids. All that was remote raiding. And 2019, you could say because GoFest was a 3-day event, that's where I ain't gonna say a lot of that came from, but that little boost from 2018, 2019, you could say they came from GoFest. But 2025 is interesting though. But let's continue.
In revenue per year. And with that, let's estimate around like a 30% profit margin, because for companies like this, gaming companies, like mobile gaming companies, profit margins are relatively high. Pokemon Go does a lot of like live events, and they do a lot of in-person things, and they have a huge team of employees. They also have a
there was Lando in
like the heart of San Francisco, which is very expensive real estate, and that means that they have to pay like California state tax, which is a lot. I would know. I'm in Los Angeles. So let's say after it's all said and done, Pokemon Go per year makes around a 30% average profit margin, which means $800 million a year in revenue. They do $240 million a year in profit, which is insane. If you didn't just spend $4 billion on the game. For Scopely to recoup the $4 billion they spent to buy Pokemon Go, it would take about 16 and a half years at the average profit margin per year in order to recoup the $14 billion. A lot of times when major companies buy assets or buy game studios or buy anything for billions of dollars, they typically look for a 10 to 30 year return window on that investment. Obviously, some longer, some shorter, but for a video game, like a video game doesn't last that long. Call of Duty comes out with a new game almost every single year, right? Some games like Fortnite are a little bit different, and Minecraft and Roblox, to where like they've been around forever and will be around forever, and Pokemon will also be around forever. But the question is, will Pokemon Go be around forever? There's mobile games, legacy mobile games like Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Candy Crush that have been around for over a decade and will be around probably forever, and they'll be making money forever. Pokemon Go will be one of those games to where like it will always exist, but the big question is how popular will it be going into the future? Will people still be playing 16 years from now, and will they still be able to make an average of $240 million per year in profit 16 years from now? I think Scopely knows that's a bit of a big risk, considering the game is already 9 years old.
So I'm gonna stop right here. So here's the thing. He talked about games lasting forever, like the Call of Duties, the Minecrafts, the Roblox, Classic, Clans, you know how you pronounce it. The thing about games that last forever is, at some point in time, the generation that was with that game is going to leave, but a new generation is going to come in and basically pick up where the previous generation left off. So, because of how, like, this is Pokemon, this is the biggest franchise in the world, and because of that, and we talk about Pokemon Go, I think the same going to apply here, where the old generation is going to leave at some point, and some, you could even say some of them left already, but a new generation have came in and taken over. And I think that cycle is going to continue with Pokemon Go because it's Pokemon. So the only way I feel like the only way Pokemon Go dies is if Pokemon itself starts to become stale, like really, really stale. But again, it is the biggest franchise in the world. It's arguably the most popular franchise in the world. So I don't see that happening with Pokemon Go.
And we've kind of run out of new Pokemon to introduce, right? Like there's some things that we're still waiting on, some mythicals, some legendaries, a bunch of shinies, like parts of generations, but most of the Pokemon that exist in the Pokemon universe are in Pokemon Go. So 16 and a half years to recoup their $4 billion investment and get into the profit, I think is too long to wait for Scopely. And I don't blame them. Listen, I like to think I'm a business guy, you know? You all know me as Mystic7, which is a YouTube brand and business that has been relevant and operating for 12 years now, which is great. Woo! It's kind of insane, actually. Some people know me as Mystic Rips, which is its own YouTube channel brand and business, and it has like business kind of arms branching off of that. My name is Brandon Martin, and my Brandon Martin name has its own brand with its own new business. I own part of a software company that does development and tool building for content creators. That's kind of part of the Brandon Martin side of things. So like, I'm very pro-business. But as a lover of Pokemon Go since the game came out, and as like, you know, one of the spokespeople, I guess, on YouTube at the very least, a little concerned about it going into the future. Because take all of this math, $4 billion spent, $240 million a year average profit prediction, 16-year recoup on the investment. It's not good enough. So now enter the new Pokemon Go. Listen, when Scopely was gonna buy Pokemon Go, everyone was so concerned. Everyone was so concerned because there are other games that Scopely owns. They have some like more intense monetization strategies, I guess you'd say. People were joking that when Scopely bought Pokemon Go, we would have to watch an ad in order to catch a shiny that we encountered in the wild, right? Like, people were pretty worried. It hasn't been that bad. That bad as in we haven't had to watch ads in game. Instead though, this is what we've seen. A monthly $8 Go Pass Deluxe that gives you a legendary Pokemon encounter and a lucky trinket, which is a brand new item you can only get by paying the $8. The Golden Bottle Cap, which is a brand new item that gets any Pokemon you have to 100% IV for $20. The remote raid pass limit has been increased. There have been a lot more exciting raid bosses. There's been more special background raid bosses, more focus on raids during major events, more focus on Dynamax and Gigantamax Pokemon, more frequent paid ticket options for events, and more free to paid upgrade model for major events. They are milking for money right now. It feels like every intelligent, tested, new monetization strategy they could possibly throw at Pokemon Go without putting ads in the game, they are doing. But is this a bad thing?
So, everything he says makes sense. Everything he says makes sense. And yeah, it's a scenario where you just have to be more aware of what you're doing with your money. Because like, to spend $2 on a ticket or $5 for a ticket, okay, whatever, so be it. But if you're constantly doing that, it adds up. So you got to be aware that like, yo, do I really have the funds to be doing this on a weekly, monthly basis? That's what you got to ask yourself. So the question is this bad for the game? He about to answer that question. I want to take a stab at it before he answers, because I don't want what he says impact my thinking process. So here's how I feel about that. There's like basically everything on what he said. Is it bad for the game? The answer is no. The answer is no, because here's why I think it's not bad for the game. Remember I said, this is Pokemon. Yes, Pokemon Go, but it's still Pokemon. It's still part of this Pokemon franchise, which is again, the biggest franchise in the world. So a bunch of people are a part of this Pokemon franchise, which means a bunch of people play Pokemon Go. Now, I'm not saying every single person who is a part of the Pokemon franchise plays Pokemon Go. That is not the case at all. But there's still a lot of people that plays Pokemon Go. So if a lot of people like watch their spending, be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get a ticket for this week. I'm not gonna get it for the next event. I'm gonna do this for this month. I'm not gonna do it for the next month and stuff like that. Despite people being wishy-washy with microtransactions and what they do, you know, when it comes to getting these tickets and these, passes, deluxe passes, stuff like that. Yeah, they can still, Scopely that is, can still make up that $4 billion back within 16 years. Not at 16 years or past that. They can make it all back within 16 years. So, and not to mention, look what we got because of that. I mean, we got the lucky trinket, which has been good. We got the golden bottle cap, which has been good, and I'm already looking forward to the next one. And there's a good chance we're gonna get the silver bottle cap. Granted, I thought they'll charge $20 for that, but we're gonna be getting that at some point, even though they haven't announced that. But I mean, it makes sense. We gotten Dynamax raids, or battles rather, Gigantamax battles, and they remove the fact that we can now remote raids with Shadow Pokemon. They increased the remote raid limit. So yeah, granted, it's involving a lot of spending, but at the same time, it's your choice in terms of what to spend your money on. Like, all this stuff is not a necessity. Like, nobody is putting a weapon to your head and say, yo, put your money into this game. Nobody's doing that. So it's your choice. Like, for example, I didn't get the deluxe pass for this month because I felt like it was nothing good about the Go Pass Deluxe for this month. So I'm skipping it. You know, you can do stuff like that. So if you do stuff like that, if you value what is important to you regarding some of the stuff that they're offering, then yeah, you can still play the game, you can still have fun with the game, and they can still make a profit, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is doing it. And if they're not doing it, somebody else is doing it, or maybe you're doing it. So either way, and again, this is Pokemon. So either way, they still gonna make their income, and it's really all up to you guys as players to keep in mind of exactly like what you're spending your money on and be smart with your money. All right, let's see what you have to say in terms of that question that he asked.
Break this down. Looking at the list of the couple things that they added to the game in order to like hyper monetize it, essentially. The Go Pass Deluxe for $8 makes sense. It's kind of like a battle pass. It's just like, well, it was a less fun version, but it's kind of getting more fun now because of the lucky trinket and because of the legendary encounter with the background. And there's so many great encounters along the way, and you can earn Stardust beyond rank 100. It's kind of sick. And a lot of battle passes in Fortnite, in Clash of Clans, in Call of Duty, all cost money to purchase if you want the premium track, right? So this isn't new, and this isn't hated.
Oh, guys, and there's worse. There's worse ones, NBA 2K. There's worse ones.
Actually, a lot of people like this, especially in the other games like Fortnite. And I've been asking for a battle pass in Pokemon Go for literally 5 years now, since Fortnite came out, which was more than 5 years ago, but you get what I'm saying, right? So this like $8 Go Pass Deluxe, I kind of like it. I do wish there was a way to get the lucky trinket for free. You know, I wish there was a way to earn it, but this is kind of the way that these freemium games go, like Fortnite, to where if you want the premium stuff, you have to pay for the premium stuff, but you can still get rewards and other things from the Go Pass, but you can pay extra to get the extra things. I will say the very cool part about the Go Pass Deluxe is that the free version still gives you the legendary Pokemon encounter with a background. So you're getting a free legendary with an exclusive background that has very high trade value and can be shiny. And if you want the lucky trinket, you then pay $8. So they're giving us free things, tons of free things in the Go Pass, including a free legendary encounter, which Niantic took away from the research breakdown.
That's a good
so
point.
Scopely brought that back. But there's a new exciting item, and if you want to, and with a ton of value, by the way, the lucky trinket is fantastic. And if you want to use that and get that and guarantee a lucky trade like once a month, you got to pay the $8. Personally, not too bad about that. Feels kind of balanced. The $20 golden bottle cap. Okay, this one's a little crazier. The golden bottle cap is an item that allows you to improve the IVs of a Pokemon. You can improve each of the 3 stats, making the Pokemon, you can make it go from 0% IVs to 100%, right? So everybody, including myself, use this to get Shundos. So you can take a shiny Pokemon that is not 100% IV, give it the golden bottle cap, complete the challenges within a year, and then you've got your Shundo. That is an awesome feature. That's insane. That's mind-blowing. I love that I could do that, and that's an option. The only catch, it's $20. This is obviously way more expensive than the $8 lucky trinket, but if you think about what you're getting for that golden bottle cap, I cannot tell you how much money I have spent to try to get a Shundo in Pokemon Go. And I understand you can get one for free just by trading, just constantly daily trading your special trades, and then lucky trades, you have a 1 in 64 chance of getting a Shundo. So like just get lucky friends, which is free, with your friends, and then trade and you can get a Shundo. That's one way to do it, right? The other way to do it is brute force, primarily through raids or eggs. And that's kind of where all of my Shundos have come from, raids and eggs specifically. So to pay $20 and take a Pokemon that I really love or I think is really special or really, really rare, like my Zacian, which I like have a memory with. I caught it with friends in Japan. It got the background. It's shiny. Like, this is a cool time capsule Pokemon for me. And to pay $20 to make it a Shundo, I do that every day, bro. You know, obviously I'm not most people, you know, like, again, going back to the business thing, it is my business to make videos covering Pokemon Go.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it here. So another thing about the Battle Pass is there's other stuff that comes with that besides the main event item. So the $8 one, it would be the Lucky Trinket. That's the main event item. But there's still other stuff that comes with the Battle Pass as I'm constantly checking the game, make sure that I'm not missing out on the Psyduck spawn. But even with the $20 version with the Golden Bottle Cap, there's still other stuff that you're getting. So it's not just, granted, yeah, some of that other stuff you could get for free, but at the same time, it's $20 to get the Golden Bottle Cap for the most part, but there's still other stuff that is included with that. So there's that too.
Which also means spending. So like, I, for my job, need to spend to do things in Pokemon Go. So obviously the like budget that I have per month to spend on the game is much different than most people, and I recognize that, right? But even for a normal person who's free to play, to pay $20 to guarantee a Shundo is kind of an insane deal, considering just how insane and rare they are, right? If it doesn't matter to you, if Shundos don't matter to you, then like, don't spend the $20, right? But Golden Bottle Cap coming to Pokemon Go, it's an awesome feature. I'm really happy it's here. I can't wait for the Silver Bottle Caps, hopefully to be introduced one day. But like, $20 for a Shundo, I'll pay. Then we've got the remote raid pass limit increasing, and when Niantic nerfed that, the community imploded. We were so mad. So they increased the remote raid pass limit to 10 per day. It might even be 20 per day now. And they keep increasing it for special events, 20 per day, 30 per day, unlimited over certain raid weekends. But we have the limit now at 10 per day, which I think is a much better balance, considering legendary raid shiny odds are 1 in 20. So at least you know, if you want to use all 10 of your remote raid passes per day, which is a lot of money, might I add. I would know because we do it on stream sometimes. You get a 50% chance at a legendary every day. You know what I'm saying? So like shiny legendary. So I've been asking for the remote raid pass limit to increase since they nerfed it. So like, I'm so excited to finally have like a little more flexibility on remote raids. What they didn't do is bring the price down. The price has stayed the same, and I do not see them bringing the price down, unfortunately. I know we're all asking for that, and I can hear the comments already of like, yeah, but they didn't bring the price down. I agree. I don't think they're going to, because again, they're looking to recoup $4 billion. There's just no way they bring the base price down on remote raid passes, especially when people are buying them like crazy again. You know, what we're seeing instead of the price coming down on the remote raid pass, I think what they're trying to do is increase the value of the raids that you're doing. And they're doing it in a couple of ways. For one, more exciting raid bosses. For a couple of years there, all the raid bosses kind of sucked every month. You know, there was like maybe one exciting one a quarter, you know? Right now, we've got Mega Rayquaza coming out during this new season. We had Origin Form Dialga and Palkia that were just here. We have Shadow Kyogre and Shadow Groudon in the Shadow Raids. We had the Gigantamax weekend over like recently. Like, you know, GoFest had all of these crazy raid bosses. I think we have like Necrozma just randomly back in raids right now. These are really good raid bosses that typically would only come out like once, like a month or every other month. And they're like really shifting through the good ones. So that's fun. We have like more of a reason to spend on remote raids, you know, and I would rather spend, if I'm going to buy an expensive remote raid pass, I would rather use it on a Necrozma than a Tapu Koko, you know? So they're doing that. There's also more special background raid bosses. I made a video talking about this, basically the evolution of rarity in Pokemon Go, but back in 2016, the rarest thing you could get was a wild spawn of a fully evolved Pokemon like Charizard.
Yep.
Whereas now today, 9 years later, the rarest thing that you could get is a shiny 100% IV special background lucky Pokemon. Very different. But the cool thing with all these special backgrounds and all these unique and cooler, honestly, special background designs is that like you kind of get a little bit more value when you do a raid because, well, assuming you're lucky. But like, not only can the Pokemon or the legendary be shiny, but it could have a special background, and that's really cool. You know? Okay,
so one issue that was brought up, I think Holly brought this, Pokemon Master Holly that is, a while back, and it's a good point. When it comes to legendaries and mythicals, they're supposed to be rare. They're supposed to be rare, but everybody is able to get them. Everybody is able to get their shiny forms. So that's kind of diminish rather how rare these legendaries are. But with the backgrounds, it's kind of boost them up, because now it's not just, oh well, it's not just a Groudon. Oh, everybody got Groudon. Oh, you got shiny Groudon? Well, everybody got shiny Groudon. How about shiny Groudon with this background from Osaka? Yeah, you don't have that. So, you know, something like that. So that kind of fixed that issue right there with the backgrounds in the game. Like me personally, I'm not going to say I don't care about the backgrounds, but I'm not going to go crazy over the backgrounds either. That's how I feel about it.
You know, like that adds a lot to the raid experience. It's like more reason to raid, more value when you spend on a raid, because you can get more from it, right? And you're not just getting a legendary, you're getting a shiny legendary. And you're not just getting a shiny legendary, you're getting a shiny background legendary. You know, like there's more tiers of value and rarity added onto the Pokemon to bring the raids a little bit more valuable, or bring them more value. I will say you're not getting that every single raid, right? So like here's kind of like the gambling aspect of the entire Pokemon franchise, quite honestly. That like is part of Pokemon Go, to where like it's a 1 in 10 chance for a background, a 1 in 20 chance for a shiny legendary. It's not that easy to get a shiny background legendary. You're gonna have to spend a lot if you really want to do that, you know? So like there's that. I recognize that they're not just giving us value, right? Like they're incentivizing us to spend more. That's the whole game they're playing here. And that's the common thread you're gonna see in all of these things that I'm talking about, is that they're not just giving us more value, they're giving us more reason to spend by adding more value. Because at the end of the day, Scopely is going to win if we spend more. And we're only going to spend more if they incentivize us to. And I think this community is mature enough after 9 years to like not go crazy and just completely buy out scams. You know, like if they're trying to charge like 100 Pokecoins to catch a shiny Pokemon in an encounter screen, you know, like there's like a tax on catching shinies. Like I think that would kill the game, because I think that wouldn't really fly with you know, all the OG people who've been around for a long time, you know. But if you keep adding these cool, exciting things to the game, and you don't have to spend if you don't want to, but if you want these cool, exciting things, you can spend on them, like that incentivizes player spend, and it makes the game more fun. And that's the whole thing when I'm saying like, is this really a bad thing for Pokemon Go? Because the game's becoming more fun. There's like more items, there's more to do, there's more ways to get more things like Lucky Pokemon and XP and Stardust and Shundos. There's more tiers of rarity, which means there's like more stuff to hunt for, you know? And that's how they're solving the entire generate, like all the 1,000 plus Pokemon will eventually be in Pokemon Go, and there's not going to be that many exciting Pokemon we don't have. So how do you make the existing Pokemon more exciting? You add layers of rarity, costumes, background, I forgot costumes, background, shiny, Dynamax, Gigantamax, Shadow, you know, these like layers of rarity keep the existing Pokemon pool interesting forever, right? And that's the whole goal for the game, is to stay interesting forever. And these are the ways that not only make the money, but kind of make sense, because I don't know how else they would make this game interesting over the next 20 years without like forcing the Pokemon Company to add a new Pokemon every day, which they're not going to do, you know? So how do you make the existing gameplay and the existing Pokemon more exciting?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Obviously, Pokemon Go more or less have caught up with the main series game, because the main series game is on Gen 9. Pokemon Go is on Gen 9. Now, granted, not every single Pokemon in the franchise is in Pokemon Go, not yet. But in terms of like releasing Pokemon based off of generations, Pokemon Go caught up with the main series games. They really, really have. So the fact that, yeah, they re-releasing some of these Pokemon that's already in the game, but giving them costumes and backgrounds, making them more rare, yeah, that's like one good way to keep the game going. I agree.
You just keep adding stuff, you know? Add features, add backgrounds, add costumes. Like, everybody loves a hat, I guess, you know? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I exactly agree with the aggressive monetization happening, but I do recognize that they're doing it in a way that at least makes the game more fun and gives us all more things to like do and hunt. The game felt stale for a long time as Niantic was running it after COVID, because the game was very exciting and we had all these new things and these remote raid passes, and like the game was very raid heavy and we were all spending like crazy, but nobody cared because it was so fun. And then after that, the game just kind of felt boring. It felt stale. There wasn't really new features or new things being added. There were bugs. The game was breaking all the time. The like weekly spawn rotations sucked. The event spawns weren't good. The raid bosses were just okay. Like there wasn't that much going down, and that's when the game was like, I guess, like financially responsible in a way to where they weren't over monetizing. But Scopely entered. They entered in all of these new monetization tactics, which have made the game more expensive. But we're seeing new features release fast. Like level 80 is coming. Okay, let me explain how Pokemon Go works. There's like one big update a quarter in the history of Pokemon Go. Maybe one big update a year. You know, I'm talking like new features and new items added. Okay, like we don't see new stuff that often. Niantic slowed the rate of the game's progress down like crazy to elongate the future of the game. Scopely is not doing that. Scopely is throwing new things at us left and right, and new updates and new items and new features and new backgrounds and new rarities, and a lot of it has a price tag attached to it, or some level of a price tag attached to it, but it's new and fun and exciting. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's more expensive. Don't get me wrong, okay? And I'll talk about that in a second, in the ways, the reasons why I think that's bad. I will talk about that because I feel like I sound like I'm just like kissing up to Scopely right now. But I just think that like how Niantic handled COVID, right, kept the game alive, kept it fun, and it kept it going. And I thought they did a great job with that. I think how Scopely is handling the monetization of this game feels like the best version of it, because it feels like we're getting a lot from it. I'll give an example. The Reggies came back to the raids. We all hate the Reggies. But what what Scopely did, right, what the Pokemon Go team did, which was great, was that the Reggies could have a special background. And the background was pretty sick, and it was unique to each Reggie, which incentivized you and me to go out and to spend extra money every single day to try to get the unique background that matched the unique Reggie, right? It was very expensive if you're someone like myself and who spends constantly on the game, or are incentivized to spend on the game. If you're like a background shiny hunter, that was a very expensive week. But the cool thing, which I hope they do more of because this was great, was every time you did a Reggie raid and completed one, you would get a free Reggie encounter after that. It was like a buy one, get one free. Literally. Like they're just deploying normal marketing and sales tactics into Pokemon Go. Like you got a BOGO. You got a BOGO Reggie, and the BOGO could have a shiny background. It was great. You know what I'm saying? It's like providing extra value, I think, is the right way to do it. And it feels like that's what they're doing. With the other things as well, there's more focus on raids during events. I think that just is like, that's just how it is, I guess, you know? That's how it's probably going to be, of just like raids are always going to be a very big part of each event because they make the most money. So that's a good and a bad thing, right? I think if the events become too dependent on raids, I think that makes the gameplay boring. So they've seemed to have been balancing that out pretty well when it comes to like research and spawns and other features. But I really hope that, like, you know, we still always see a balance between like wild gameplay and raid gameplay, you know? Like we can't have like a Go Fest Max finale every weekend. And speaking of that, there's a much bigger focus on the Gigantamax and Dynamax event. I spent $1,000 in-game in Pokemon Go over the Go Fest Max finale weekend, and I played like 40% of it. Granted, obviously, like I played it very hard, and like I just like spend infinitely on the game, so I'm probably spent more than most players, but like I could have spent a lot more than that if I actually like grinded that weekend as hard as I would typically grind like a Go Fest weekend. But during a Go Fest weekend, I'd spend maybe, you know, $200 to $400 in Pokecoins, maybe, because you don't really spend that much Pokecoins unless you're like raiding like crazy or hatching eggs. But I'd spend like a couple $100 on a Go Fest weekend, which is the biggest event of the year, by the way. So if you're going to spend a couple $100 on the weekend, Go Fest is the weekend to do it. Typically, I would spend it on that. I spent like 2 to 3 times that on this Max finale, and there was like, it was just Dynamax and Gigantamax raids, you know? And I think we're going to see a lot more of a focus on Gigantamax and Dynamax, just because it's so much money for them, because you're buying particle packs and you're buying remote raid passes. So we're probably going to see more of that. I will say the Dynamax feature came out, and I thought it was cool when it came out, and then everyone stopped caring about it. It was just boring. Like no one cared about Dynamax. And then Gigantamax came out. It was exciting when it first came out, and then it was kind of boring. And like the bosses were too hard to defeat. You know, the rewards that you got from it like were good, but like they're too hard. It just like wasn't fun. And I think now, after the Go Fest Max finale weekend, they've discovered how to make it fun, because we all spent money on it, which means we think it's fun, you know, which is like these backgrounds and these shinies and these boosted events. And, you know, you can now have 100 people in the raid lobby instead of 20 or 40 or whatever it was. Like, they're better. The Gigantamax and Dynamax system has been made better, and it's more fun to engage with. Is it cheaper? No. And that's the problem, right? Is that like things are getting more fun, but more expensive, right? And that brings me to what the real problem here is. And I know I've been, a lot of this video has been me talking about how good I think this is for the game and how much I agree with it. I kind of hesitate to like say that just because I don't fully so let me provide some balanced perspective here. The real problem with this is that Pokemon Go is a free-to-play game, right? And it's a video game. This is not like the money that we spend on Pokecoins are not going into, it's not going into our 401k. You know, it's like getting a shiny Pokemon doesn't equate to getting like a stock that pays us out. Like, this is a game, right? And these are worthless digital assets that we're all buying, you know? So to make it so insanely expensive to play and collect doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Pokemon cards is very different, where there's a monetary value and a resale market and an investment strategy with Pokemon cards, right? Like, Pokemon cards have appreciated in value historically. There's a supply crunch model that happens on the older product, so it always appreciates. And like, there's a huge buy-sell trade market, and like, you can buy a box of Pokemon cards and turn around and sell it immediately for cash. You cannot do that with Pokemon Go, right? So for the game to get too expensive starts to make less and less sense for people who are spending on it. And what you're going to see, and what you are seeing, is that people are feeling like they're getting squeezed out. They're getting priced out of the game. This is a free game that people feel like they're getting priced out of. Like, let me say that again. This is a free-to-play game that people feel like they can't play anymore because they can't afford it. That doesn't make any sense.
So, I need to introduce him to NBA 2K. I need to introduce him to NBA 2K because it's worse. Like that, Madden, FIFA, you know, games like that are worse because you have to pay to play those games. And those games normally last for a year before the newer version of those games drop, and all that progress that you made with that game in that past year is gone. And let me give you an example. NBA 2K. So NBA 2K 26, excuse me. NBA 2K 26 just dropped, right? So that means if you had NBA 2K 25, and their microtransactions are high. Y'all thought this stuff in Pokemon Go is high? Psh, please. It's chump change compared to the stuff that you had to pay to do on NBA 2K. Outside of just playing the game, because it costs at least $70 to play the game. So you got to pay $70 to play NBA 2K 25, and then you got to pay all these microtransactions to, you know, do certain things within the game, you know, boost your character stats, make them wear the dopest of outfits, you know, and then pay more money to have another build of another character, you know. So there's some cats who have like 2, 3, 4, 5 builds, and all of that costs money, and all that is done within 1 year. So that's all in 2020. That's in NBA 2K 25. So with NBA 2K 26 out, everybody is abandoning 2K25 and everything that they done with it and all the money that they put in it, because they're going to do it all over again in 2K26. And then it's going to get worse because when 2K27 drops, everything they did in 2K26 they're going to abandon, and everything in 2K25 will be erased because 2K they don't have the money to keep these old servers active, and it make no sense for them to do that because people moved on from 2K25 to either 2K26 or 2K27. So why have servers from a game that is 2 years old? They just delete it. So all that progress that you made is gone. So it's worse. It's worse over there than it is at Pokemon Go.
So what the real problem, I think, right now is the fact that people are getting priced out. And that sucks for two reasons. One, it's just kind of unfair to people who have like invested so much of their life and their time into like playing the game and being they're a lifelong committed community member and player, and you know, just because they don't have a lot of money, like that shouldn't affect their ability. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously there's a level of monetization that is a part of Pokemon Go, and you know, there always has been and there always will be, but like, it feels a little unfair to price people out of the game because they refuse to or can't just throw money down the drain to like enjoy Pokemon Go, which again is not a hard physical asset. Like, you're not going to resell your account for anywhere near the amount of money you spent on the account, you know? Pokemon cards are different, Pokemon Go is not. So there's that, right? It's unfair that people are getting priced out. And then the problem for the people who don't get priced out is that less and less people will play Pokemon Go or engage with it or spend on it because more and more people are going to feel like they can't afford it and they're getting priced out. So what happens, and what this is a thing that has happened with games in the past as well, what happens is that the existing player base gets smaller, and therefore the developers need to squeeze the existing player base even more, make things even more expensive because there's less people spending. So they need the average person to spend more in order to get the same amount of profit or the same amount of growth they're getting year over year on their profit.
Okay, so another problem is, to add on to what he was saying, another problem is when more and more people start playing the game, that means the communities become smaller, and the meetups and stuff like that, people are going to see that there's no point in going to those because there's not a lot of people playing the game, which means there's not a lot of people going out to the meetups. So at that point, then you talk about people not showing up to the meetups, and it's going to mess people up because then we're going to get to a scenario where people can't do raids, they can't do max battles of any kind because there's not enough people there. Granted, that's a different problem from what he's talking about, but it's still a problem that needs to be brought up nonetheless.
Which means the game just gets more expensive. It's just even more expensive. There's even more things to buy. So I think that's the hard part, right? And I think that's why I sound so pro what's happening, but also why I'm against what's happening, is because it's difficult, it's complicated, it's life, it's finances. The game's getting fundamentally better and more fun. There's more features being introduced than ever before. The game is running smoothly, better than ever before. The updates and the events are fun and exciting. There's new levels of rarity that we're all having a good time hunting. The game's getting better, but the game's getting so much more expensive. I don't know how many of you track your spending. I would highly recommend it. There's an app called Copilot that I use that literally you just attach your bank account and your credit cards to, and you sort all of your expenses so you can see what you're spending on. Track your expenses. I would be so curious to see what the average person's average spend on Pokemon Go has been over the last 6 months, because I think there's been a clear ramp. And for a lot of people, at some point up that ramp, they have to tap out. And tapping out either means stopping spending, spending less, or quitting the game. Because a lot of people feel the FOMO. I can empathize with those of you that are like, you know what? I can't afford this and the FOMO is too strong, so I'm going to quit. Because either I cannot control myself and I will spend on this game when I don't have the money to do it, or this feels unfair that I've played this game for so many years and I've given so much of myself to this game and I'm now priced out and I don't even want to engage with it anymore. That makes a lot of sense. And that makes a lot of sense, And it feels like we're kind of getting to that place. I have a short script to my right that basically just gives me talking points of the things that I want to go over so I remember it. And the last thing that I wrote in the script is, the game is getting better and will get more fun, ... but at what cost? That is the question that I leave you with. Pokemon Go is getting better, and it's going to keep getting better and more fun and more exciting. But will it get too expensive to make sense? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.
That's a good way to end it. That's a good way to end that video. So, and those are all good points. When it comes to the meat of the argument, I see nothing there that I disagree with. I really, really don't. You could say, well, is the game getting better in terms of the bugs and stuff like that? There's still bugs in the game. Now, are they as bad as they were 4 years ago, maybe? You can make a good argument to say no, they're not as bad as they was back then, but there's still bugs in the game. And I feel like that those bugs, or not those types of bugs, but bugs in the game will always be there. That's how I feel about it. I don't ever see a point where Pokemon Go is going to operate bug free for a lengthy period of time. I don't see that happening with this game. But the bottom line is this. I agree with everything Mystic7 says. I think we're at a point where, yes, the game is getting better, but at the same time, there's just too much that you got to spend money on, and it's on a weekly, monthly basis. So it's it's basically a streaming service. How much can you spend on this game? You got to answer this question. How much per month can you spend on this game? And you got to ask yourself this question. You got to set a budget and see if that budget, or see, whatever it is that you put on this game, does it make sense with your everyday life? So if you're paying off your bills, you know, your mortgage, you take care of your kids or your wife or your husband or whatever the case may be, you feed yourself and all that jazz, and you pay off your phone bill, your streaming services, cable bill, if you have that, whatever the case may be, do you have money left over to say, you know what? For the next month, I can drop $100 in Pokemon Go, or $50, or $20, and that includes the tickets, the monthly passes, and then the raid passes, and the regular passes, and the incubators, and all this other stuff. The question is, can you spare a certain amount of money into Pokemon Go on a monthly basis? If the answer is yes, then yeah, you're doing a good job. If the answer is no, now you're at a point where you gotta make a change. Either you got to become a free-to-play player just for that month or whatever the case may be, or if that's too hard for you, you may have to stop playing the game, unfortunately. And it sucks to say that because I want Pokemon Go to be accessible to everybody. You know, this is the guy that want more black people to play Pokemon Go and want more black people to be content creators in Pokemon Go. So for me to say, well, if it's not in the cards financially, stop playing the game, it sucks. It really, really sucks to say that. But you got to do what is best for you. And that's what it comes down to. So yeah, to reiterate what he said at the end, the game is getting better, but at what cost to you? So there you go. Now, I'm gonna call it a wrap. So if you reached this part of the video, leave in the comment section below money. If you reach this part of the video, leave in the comment section below money. At the very end, you see 2 cards. One of them will be something that YouTube recommends, while the other one will be the last video that I put, or the other guy put out rather. So check out all the videos on this channel, and I'm gonna call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know what this is. This is boy New J Gatsby, aka Lucy Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see you next time. Yeah. Subscribe. Thanks, man. After you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a new video or a live stream ever again. Thanks, guys.
Blue is the trainer, articulating pain. With my tongue, I done things that people said I can't. Now they rank 'em with the elite, but it's for the people, and victory is part of defeat. Cause when you get back on your feet, then you try again. Learn from mistakes, show 'em that I got what it takes, and I'm dying to win. I'ma hit and move away.